In the just published spring-summer edition of Healing Magazine, our recurring feature, Therapist's Corner, highlights the challenges a practitioner of art therapy faces in the time of COVID-19. Katie Greble is a board-certified art therapist and licensed professional counselor who wrote about her experience for the magazine's latest issue, and she joins us on the podcast. Katie, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. So in your article for Healing, you note that a majority of the tools that you use as an art therapist were not available to you in dealing with your clients because you were in a virtual situation. I'm wondering what that was like for you when you realized that was the situation you were in.
Yeah, so interestingly, I actually started this current position in August, kind of mid-pandemic. So I never actually met any of my clients face to face. So we all were starting from scratch and trying to figure out what we were doing together. So I tried to transfer some of my activities, sort of made a template that we would put up on the whiteboard in Zoom and then draw on top of that. I might have asked them to get materials from their home, but it just really wasn't the same because a lot of what I do and the information I get is how the art is made and watching someone work. So at first I was just kind of shocked, and then I just trusted that I could do it without my usual tools, and we worked through it together, and it's been really eye-opening, as the article talked about.
Now, when you describe some of the ways that you were able to weave into your therapy what you were seeing in a child's room or their house, I was struck with how you described some of the reactions from the younger kids, as if they were excited to have you in their world versus going to your office. Yeah. Is that accurate? And how did that affect your approach to working with them?
Yeah, they just love to show me their toys and their pets. And, sometimes I'm just looking at the ceiling and I have to say, hey, could you prop me back up so I can see your face? And they just kind of put me right into their world. And I think that it was so novel for them to have a grown-up in their house, like a teacher type person or a therapist in their house. So they were so excited and welcoming me into their world. I think the hardest part was like not knowing what I was jumping into. Were they just napping 10 minutes ago, or did their parents just take their video games away and they were mad, or they were just having a fight with a sibling, and some of these kids were in virtual school all day, so they were completely over it. They didn't want to be on the computer. So for me, it was just like kind of hopping into a middle of a movie and, just seeing what I was going to find. And I think that was really different because when you're coming to an office appointment, you kind of have the car ride there and you have the waiting room, and they enter the space that I have set up for them with my intentions for that time together. So it was very different. But again, there was a lot of information to gain by seeing them in their own world.
One of the insights that you relate in your article, and you mentioned video games, and you said this in the article, you say this was a surprising insight, was that the virtual format of working with them actually breaks down some of the barriers to discussing video games with your clients. Were the young people you dealt with excited to share their interest in gaming with you as a way to sort of educate you on their view of things?
Definitely. I think the complaint from a lot of parents is too much video games. We don't want him so obsessed with video games, stuff like that. And I remember the first kid that I kind of had this breakthrough with, he was telling me about this game he had been playing. And I was like, oh, cool, I'll have to look that up. And he was like, you're like the third person who has said that to me. And as he was saying that, I had Googled it and shared my screen on the Zoom. And I was like, oh, is this the game you're talking about? And you could see it in his face, like, whoa, she really looked it up. It wasn't just lip service from a grown-up pretending to be interested in what he was talking about. And so I was like telling him, can you tell me what characters you like? And he was just so surprised that I wanted to hear more about it. So I don't think they saw it as much as like I did, as I was learning so much about them, just how I can see what characters they like or what they liked about the certain games. And I really don't think a lot of grownups take the time to learn about the video games that they're playing. So it was, unless they're setting limits around them, you know, so it was really neat for me. And I definitely have a new appreciation for the whole world of gaming now.
And that comes through in the article, of course. We ask each of our guests for a life hack. This could be a favorite saying, a piece of advice, maybe something that gets you through a tough part of the day. Do you have a life hack for us?
Yes, I thought hard about this. I think over this pandemic period, the thing that keeps coming up for me is just perspective. So I had 2 young children, my full-time job, and still making time to have, you know, my life, and my husband needed time and my home needed care, you know, so everything can be really overwhelming. And I just had to keep putting things in perspective. And the saying, or the life hack that came to mind for me was, you can't put your you have to put your oxygen mask on yourself before you help another passenger, right? That's the announcement they do on all the airplanes. And that was taught to me as a beginning therapist. And I think about that a lot. And as a therapist and going into this profession, you want to help everyone, you want to save the world. And a lot of times you have to remember that's not our job. Our job is not to fix. Our job is to just be there and do whatever we can and do our best every day. So that really helped me a lot.
Okay. Katie Greble is an art therapist and licensed professional counselor. Her article on what she learned during the pandemic is in the latest issue of Healing Magazine. Katie, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care.